The New South Wales Premier's indicated that she'd like everyone from age 50 up to get AstraZeneca from now. Is that actually possible, or could you put a month on when that could come into place? And on mass vaccination hubs, can we just get a bit of a who, what, when, where? So who would that involve in terms of the age groups? Which type of vaccine would it be, and when could those be set up?
These are the discussions we're having right now. These are discussions we'll have this afternoon. I don't intend to preempt those discussions because there is a lot of work that needs to go into how those will be planned. There are strong arguments for the bring forward of over 50s with the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is a safe and effective vaccine for those aged over 50, and particularly important for those aged over 70 who are already in that priority group that we need to ensure we're getting vaccinated across Australia to protect them, because if there is an outbreak anywhere in the country, if you're aged over 70, you are at risk. We saw that with the terrible second wave in Victoria and the terrible casualties we saw of those aged over 70 in aged care facilities, and that's why that's our priority. But yes, the option of bringing forward over 50s is one that is being discussed, but I'm going to work that through with the Premiers and Chief Ministers about how that can be achieved in a most orderly way. I want to stress that the role being played by GPs is central to that delivery. That is the primary pathway through which we're administering vaccines to the public, particularly AstraZeneca, and that would be the case as we move into potentially those groups aged over 50 and any bring forward we had there. Your GP is the person, or the GP who you can go to for administering that vaccine, is best placed to talk through any of the hesitancy you may have, talk through the health issues that are involved, and to take you through that process. And that's why our GP rollout is the primary delivery method. Now, you ask about mass vaccination rollouts. We have discussed, particularly in the context of the fourth quarter of this year. That will be dependent very much on the stock of Pfizer and Novavax that we're expecting at this stage, contracted to be made available in the fourth quarter of this year. That is where we're predominantly talking about those under 50, and that for that age group, that would be more suited to that type of vaccination process. And so there's a lot of work to be done, given that would be effectively, if we wished, a 12-week sprint to be able to do that safely and effectively, and there'd need to be plenty of planning to achieve that. Now, states and territories currently, I know I was with Premier Marshall on the weekend, and they're already moved on some of their GP clinics as well, and their clinics, vaccination clinics. We welcome that, and we can work to ensure that the supplies available can get to the places where they need to. We are currently at 1.586 million vaccinations as of the most recent information that will be released today. And as you'll see from that, the Commonwealth, and in particular through the GP vaccination network, is what is really driving that process now.
Prime Minister Gladys Berejiklian has said that.
Comes down to supply stock. So have you got an update on how many Pfizer vaccines are now in the country? There was talk that it was about 100,000 per week. When does that start ramping up?
We'll be going through those supply issues with the states and territories this afternoon, as we understand it right now, and that will obviously inform the other programs that we're working through together.
Gladys Berejiklian said this morning, she said we need to really crack on with it. I don't know how long I've been saying New South Wales is ready to step up. I don't agree with comments last week, even if vaccinated, we can't travel. She's seeming to say there that the federal government's been going too slow. Do you stand by your earlier comments on this, that it's not a race and everything's fine?
Vaccinate Australians safely and effectively. The rate of vaccination in Australia is at the same pace, at the same stage of the vaccination program in Europe and the European Union. It's higher than New Zealand is at that same stage. It's better than Canada. It's better than South Korea. It's better than Japan. It's better than France.
Twice weekly national cabinets then. If it's so on track, why do we need twice weekly national cabinets?
Ensuring that we're maximising the supplies that we have available and getting them out in the most effective way, Andrew. That would seem to me a very sensible thing to do. We have had a particular shock to the system as a result of the medical advice that we've received from the Australian Technical Advisory Group on immunisations. That has obviously had an impact. I've been very clear about that. We'll be getting further information on that today. The head of the AMA will be joining us this afternoon to be talking about the GP rollout and the importance of that distribution mechanism for the vaccination program. And we'll be moving as quickly as we can with the supplies that we have available and ensuring they're getting it to the priority populations that need it most urgently. Our vaccination program has had some early challenges, but so have the vaccination programs of almost every country in the world today. Right now in Australia, we are living in a way that the rest of the world is not. Vaccination will be an important mechanism to ensure that remains the case. But I must stress this also. The international borders are also an incredibly important protection for Australians. And I'm not about to relax those restrictions lightly. I'm not going to have Australia's way of life changed by an incursion of cases into the country and seeing lockdowns occur again and see border closures happening internally and our international borders, provided we continue to roll out the vaccination program, provided we continue to have the effective suppression mechanisms that we have in place, that will enable people to continue to go to restaurants, to continue to go to pubs, for businesses to remain open, for hairdressers to remain open, for all of these businesses in our domestic tourism industries to be able to reap the benefits of Australians travelling at home. The opening up of the Tasman is another boost to that sector. We're already well over half of the number of the discounted tickets that we made available through our travel program. This is great news. It's tremendous news. So we will proceed carefully and cautiously. We will keep Australians safe, and international borders are an important part of that program. And I think Australians value that safety and what it is affording to them in the way that Australians can live here. They can see what's happening overseas, Andrew. They can see the pandemic raging. More than 3 million people have died as a result of this pandemic. And Australians don't want to see that coming to Australia. And they can be assured that I'll be taking decisions that keep them safe.